And now from the Mediterranean energy cooperation setting, we move to an adjacent region, which is the Danubian Balkan region, and Mrs. Constantinescu will illustrate us the terms of the regional cooperation in the Danubian region now. Thank you.
It will be actually about the North Sea, so the colleague will talk about the Danube. Thank you, Chairman, for this opportunity to speak in this set plan conference, which is, I think, my fifth set plan conference, but now in another position, working for the European Association for the Transmission System Operators for the Electricity. If I can move the slides.
On the left. No, on the left.
Okay. So my association, it's actually focusing on the regional cooperation. Today I will focus on the North Sea region, but actually has more regions based on which is developing through the requirements of the regulation investment plans. There are 5 more regions, so Baltic Sea, there is also South-West cooperation, there is also continental South and so on, moving to the East, so Southeast and Central East Europe. What is particular about this North Sea region is that actually it has quite interesting energy mix. So it's dominated by the hydropower, which is in Norway, and has actually countries which took the development of the renewables quite strongly, so especially Great Britain and Germany, especially the offshore generation. Furthermore, this region also set up a cooperation between the countries, so the energy ministries, as well as the transmission system operators and the regulators, in order to actually develop together plans to look at the regulatory regimes and to look at the permitting issues in order to maximize the efficient use, and also economic use of renewables and infrastructures in this region. And actually this initiative is called the North Sea Countries Offshore Grid Initiative, NSCOGI. It covers 10 countries, and my association is actually supporting the work in this more formal regional cooperation. So the work of ENTSO-E on the regional group North Sea, it's actually focused on mainly looking into the future and setting up kind of investment plans for up to 2030. And in order to do this, there are different scenarios which were put in place and which also take into account the scenario delivered by the NSCOGI initiative. So you can see on these graphs that there are actually, these are not scenarios associated with the probability to reach those points, are actually the extremes of possible developments in the region in order to allow the grid to deliver, to be the enabler and to be the common denominator for the development of the renewables in that part. So it's having different scenarios for the demand in the region, for the installed capacity, and for the electricity generation. Now, in order to have those investments and in order to establish those interconnectors, which requires a lot of investment, there has to be a business case. And actually, by looking at the price difference between the countries, then we can have different flows for the energy. So here in this graph, you see actually what is happening in one vision where actually there is no development of the renewables by 2030, then it will be in 2020 through the mandatory targets. Or it will increase quite a lot, like for instance, wind can go from 140 gigawatt to 300 gigawatt, out of which 1/3 it will be offshore. So the flow will circulate in the other direction. So in the vision with a lot of renewables, actually the Nordic countries and also the Great Britain, they will export towards Europe, and this will have actually implications towards the CO2 emissions, and there in the graph you see on the left side you see the implications in the vision which is more conservative, and in graph below the vision 4, which is more renewables, you will see the implication not only for the North Sea region but also for Europe. Furthermore, the development of the interconnectors will allow also to integrate more renewables and then, as such, to have less curtailment of the use of the renewables. In the conservative vision, so we have anyhow a flow which is going from Norway to, of course, to Denmark, but also to Great Britain, to Germany. While in the other vision, which is more, let's say, renewables-oriented, the interconnectors actually will help to integrate renewables. Now, going to what is needed or what we think the research, innovation, and also the market uptake measures can do in this region. We have estimated the costs for these developments, and actually the costs are, I don't know, somebody this morning asked which are the costs regarding the research and innovation for Europe for the SET plan. So for this North Sea region, so the offshore grid will require something like between 17 and 20 billion euros. But of course, this has also savings. And actually, looking at the 4 visions, we come to the conclusion that these investments will pay off. Furthermore, from the development point of view of the grid, so a modular approach will be necessary, and possible technical solutions using, for instance, alternative current and direct current should be taken into account. Furthermore, in order to have investments done, we have to have business models, and therefore these market price difference between the countries are important. And of course, the technology and the regulatory framework, it's playing a role. After actually developing this investment plan, which is going to be released now in December, so for the region, from the grid, electricity transmission grid point of view, we have identified 19 projects. You see them on this map, and actually 4 of them are going to become, some of them are going to become projects of common interest, so it was said by the representative of GRC. These 4 projects, they have actually 2 functions. So they are called hybrids because they do the function of interconnection, and they also do the function of connection to the wind farm. Now, having these two functions, it's important to see the trade-offs between these two functions and how the regulatory regimes should play a role in this. Coming to our discussion today, so to the technology development, research and innovation. So what we think for this region is that we have to have options open, so probably not only direct current use, but also other options. So the technology components still need to be developed, and the software, the protection systems as well. Regarding the regulatory framework, there is a need actually for the transmission system operators and the equipment suppliers to cooperate and to agree on a future grid architecture development in the North Sea. There is also the need to work with the regulators to see how actually these projects I have shown in the previous map, these hybrid projects can make actually a business case because they are very expensive, and also to work together with the offshore generators in order to have these plants, so the grid plants and also the offshore wind farm plants developed together so that we can make this match in the time. So therefore, probably we will make and we will look at a roadmap for the future. Concretely, when I was working previously in the Commission, so in DG Energy, so I was in this unit which took two projects, big demonstration projects. One was 20s, which was finalized and which was looking at actually this cooperation between the wind sector and the grid. Now another project is put into place which is looking actually from the supply to the consumer, so how to integrate those components. And then the next one, which will be in 2015, actually, it's about actually this development in the North Sea, so it has this regional component. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mrs. Constantinescu, and sorry for my initial confusion on your regional focus. My first instinct is not always the best. In fact, the Danube region will be dealt with as our last topic today, exactly after the Baltic, which makes sense that from the North Sea we move to the Baltic now, and we give the floor to Mr. Kisel. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you, first of all, Enea, for inviting me also to speak in this event here and to present some of the insights what has happened in the Baltic area. When I prepared this presentation, then I actually realized that I have like three hats to wear in this presentation. First of all, I'm acting as the regional manager for Europe in World Energy Council. Secondly, I'm acting as the senior fellow for European policies in World Energy Council. And thirdly, I'm the partnering with the Baltic Energy Security Research Platform in the Baltic region. So I will try to give you a bit of a flavor what's behind of all these developments in the Baltic region, and especially looking at the energy security dimension. I will talk briefly about the World Energy Trilemma, which is issued annually by the World Energy Council. Then I will discuss briefly about the challenges with energy security indicators worldwide. Then, thirdly, I will touch upon the Baltic states as a potential testing ground for new approach to energy security. And then, as a Baltic Energy Security Platform, research platform, as the basis for such kind of exploration. But first of all, I would like to give you some flavor what is the energy policy in very simple terms would look like. If you think of the energy policy, then you have actually three dimensions you have to look at. It's about energy security, environmental sustainability, and energy equity, which stands for the affordability and competitiveness of the energy prices. It was also highlighted by the Director General Ristori and also with Mr. Bernard in the earlier interventions today, that these three dimensions are in the heart and in the core of the energy policy. Now, what the World Energy Council does annually is that we look at the 129 countries around the world and try to figure out how well they are performing in terms of energy security, in terms of environment sustainability, and the affordability of the energy prices. So, just 2 weeks ago, we issued this year's annual report on the World Energy Trilemma. And you can see here that also the different regions within the European Union have very different, so to say, triangles when it comes to their energy policy and how it performs. If you look at the northern countries, then you see that they perform quite well in all of the dimensions comparatively to the other countries. If you look at the Eastern European countries, then you see that they perform very good in terms of energy security, but less in terms of environmental sustainability and in terms of affordability of the energy. You can see that the triangles for southern countries are, again, say very much, they are not very strong in terms of energy security, but they perform better in terms of environmental sustainability and competitiveness of the energy prices. Same counts also for the Western countries, as you can see here. And you can see here also all the countries of the European Union, how they rank in this comparison. So this was the short introduction as the regional manager for Europe. Now, the question what one could ask from that is that how we actually get to these results. We look at the moment 22 different indicators for these three dimensions, and they are based on the data which is available. And these are results which come out from the comparative data from all over the world, from different data sources. So, but if we look at specifically now on the energy security indicators, then one could actually argue that all of these data, not all of, but majority of this data which is available, doesn't actually reflect very well the level or the state of the energy security. And in order to get to the better assessments on the energy security and also in terms of energy policy, one should also look more at the data which is not actually available at the moment in the global scale. Some data which is available may also provide some distorted pictures of the energy policy in different countries. Even if we think of the energy policy of the European Union, then you can see that there are, for the energy policy, clear targets for the sustainability of the energy systems, but not so much about the energy security targets. And also, if you look at the energy security strategy, which was issued by the European Commission, there was also very limited use of figures in this report. When it comes to the governments of the European countries, as a former policymaker, I can also say that governments, to a large extent, actually struggle to find the proper targets in terms of energy security. And usually what is measured, this gets also done. If you don't measure things things are not done as you wish. Mr. De Santi and also Mrs. Donnelly very well indicated that we have to have a very strong link between the policymakers, politicians, and also with the scientific world. And in this respect, we see that scientific world can actually provide very strong support for the policymakers to get over this kind of problems with the missing data. Baltic states, in this respect, are actually a very well positioned as a testing ground for such kind of new energy security indicators and also renewed energy security policy. If you think of the geopolitically, then Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, are between two very different regions in the way, in very different energy markets, very different energy policies, many different energy politics. And all of this has also very strong impact to their energy security policies. You can find all different aspects of the energy security. Give it the technical aspects of the security of supply, looking at the economical aspects of the energy dependence, look at the political aspects of the external interferences into the energy policy, and so on and so forth. You can find all of these aspects in the Baltic states, and they can be assessed in a very well in this area. There is also very good experience from the scientific, governmental, entrepreneurial, and international institutions in the area, which have analyzed and developed already some basis for such kind of discussions. And one can also say that the Baltic states have had a very good tradition of cooperating between themselves and in technical terms, in everyday operations, and also in the policy preparation. So Mr. Macera also mentioned the Baltic Energy Security Research Platform, which was initiated by the Joint Research Center last year. And it brings together universities, governments, and international institutions in the region to discuss in the expert level the different aspects of the energy security policy. And one of the aims there is also to develop and define the better set of energy security indicators, which in turn can in future use in European Union and also in a world scale. This common policy on energy security can also provide a very strong impetus to the sustainable and affordable solutions for the further energy policy in other aspects as well. So to conclude, I would say that the current approaches to energy security in European Union and worldwide as well may deliver actually quite wrong incentives for the policymakers, and if you have wrong data, wrong incentives, you may take wrong decisions as well. Baltic states in this respect are well positioned to redefine such kind of international discussion on energy policy. And the Baltic Energy Security Research Platform in this respect is a perfect platform to discuss these and disseminate all of these potential indicators for the policymakers globally. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. Kisel.